Have you ever felt that tightness in your chest, as if something was wrong, but couldn't explain why? Maybe you've found yourself questioning your own emotions or blaming yourself for problems that seem out of your control. Today, I want to help you understand what might be going on. In this video, we'll explore 10 silent signs that you're suffering emotional abuse. Yes, silent, because often these behaviors are so subtle that we end up normalizing them and ignoring our internal alarms. My name is Lauren Mitchell, and my purpose with this channel is to show that the problem was never you. If this content resonates with you, like the video and subscribe to our channel. Emotional abuse is like a shadow that grows gradually until you barely realize you're living in darkness. It doesn't leave visible marks, but it hurts deeply. If you've ever wondered if you're going through this or know someone who might be in this situation, stay until the end. What I'm going to share here could be the first step toward reclaiming your emotional freedom. I know this is a delicate subject, but I also know that many people are seeking answers. Perhaps you're wondering, am I the only one who feels this way? Believe me, you're not alone. Many women, and also men, face relationships where emotional abuse is present, whether with romantic partners, family members, or friends. And the hardest part is that, unlike physical abuse, emotional abuse doesn't leave visible bruises. It acts on the mind, feelings, and perceptions, creating doubts about who we really are and what we deserve. That's why I decided to bring you 10 clear signs that can help you identify if you're being emotionally manipulated. These signs are based on real stories, observations, and most importantly, examples that many people live through without realizing it. If any of these signs resonate with you, it's time to pay attention. Recognizing the problem is the first step toward changing your reality. Now, before we dive into the specific signs, I want to share a story that might help you see how emotional abuse works so silently. Imagine a person who went through a troubled relationship with a possible psychopath. Even after everything, this person still finds themselves thinking deep down, was it somehow my fault? They know, rationally, that it wasn't their responsibility, but something inside them keeps questioning. What they don't immediately realize is that this is part of the cycle of emotional abuse. He convinced her that the blame was hers, but in reality, it never was. This type of manipulation is more common than we think, and it doesn't happen only in romantic relationships. It can be between friends, family members, or co-workers. It doesn't matter the gender or the type of bond. Emotional abuse is treacherous because it's silent, invisible, and often disguised as concern or love. That's why I want to help you recognize the signs before it's too late. I'll share here 10 silent signs of emotional abuse. If you've ever felt that something wasn't right, but couldn't quite pinpoint what, pay attention. And if you know someone who might be going through this, keep these tips in mind to share with them. Remember, the first step to breaking free from a harmful cycle is recognizing it. And today, we'll shine a light on these shadows together. Let me tell you a quick story that will help you understand how emotional abuse works so subtly. Have you ever heard the analogy of the pot and the frog? If not, imagine this. A frog is placed in a pot of cold water. The temperature starts to rise slowly, so gradually that the frog doesn't notice. It adapts to the heat until, when the water finally begins to boil, it's already too late. It has been cooked without even realizing it. This is how emotional abuse works. At first, everything seems normal, even charming. He treats you well, makes promises, gives you gifts. But little by little, things start to change. Maybe he starts controlling your choices, or yells at you occasionally, or simply stops listening to you. It's like the water temperature rising, so subtle that you barely notice until you're completely caught up in it. Now think, could this be happening to you? Are you being slowly cooked emotionally without realizing it? If so, stay with me until the end of this video. We'll explore the 10 signs that will help you identify this toxic dynamic and, more importantly, take back control of your life. The first of these signs is something many people ignore, but it can be a major warning. First sign, excessive control. The first sign of emotional abuse is excessive control. It may seem like concern at first, but in reality, it's a form of manipulation to limit your freedom and autonomy. Imagine he decides who you can see, where you can go, or even what you should wear. At the beginning, it might sound like care, something like, "I just want to protect you." but gradually it turns into an invisible prison. This control doesn't have to be obvious to be harmful. It can be something as subtle as him questioning your choices or criticizing your decisions. Maybe he says your friends aren't good for you or hints that your family doesn't understand your relationship. The result? You start doubting the people around you and, eventually, yourself. When someone controls your life, even indirectly, they are undermining your confidence and independence. You might find yourself asking permission for simple things, like going out with a friend or buying something new. And when you realize you no longer have the freedom to make your own choices, you're already trapped in a cycle that's hard to break. Now think, is this happening to you? Have you already internalized these impositions as normal? If so, it's time to reflect on the impact it's having on your life. Controlling is not loving. Loving is respecting your individuality and supporting your decisions, even if they're not the same ones he would make. These behaviors may seem harmless individually, but together, they form a web that suffocates your essence. Recognizing this is the first step toward changing your reality. Second sign, constant yelling. Another clear sign of emotional abuse is constant yelling. It's important to differentiate an occasional argument, which can happen in any relationship, from yelling used as a weapon to control and intimidate. When someone repeatedly raises their voice, they're not trying to resolve the issue but rather impose their position by force. Imagine a situation where, while trying to talk about something simple, he responds with verbal aggression. He interrupts, yells, or accuses you of things you didn't even say. The conversation dies before it even begins. Over time, you start avoiding any dialogue for fear of triggering another episode of shouting. This behavior creates a toxic cycle. The more he yells, the more you stay silent. The more you stay silent, the more he dominates the relationship. The emotional impact of this is profound. You feel small, insecure, and unable to express your emotions. Additionally, the constant fear of confrontation affects your self-esteem and even your mental health. And the worst part? Often, you end up justifying this behavior, thinking he only yelled because he was stressed or tired. But here's the truth. No one needs to yell to be heard. If this sounds familiar, pause for a moment and reflect. Have you noticed that you avoid certain topics or situations for fear of his reaction? If so, that's a red flag. Healthy relationships are built on dialogue, mutual respect, and the ability to listen to each other. When yelling becomes a tool for control, it's time to question whether this relationship is really good for you. Third sign, contempt. Contempt is one of the cruelest forms of emotional abuse, and often it comes disguised as sarcasm or indifference. Imagine you try to talk about something important to you, maybe a dream, a fear, or even a problem in the relationship, and he responds with laughter, sarcasm, or simply ignores what you said. It seems harmless at first glance, but over time, this behavior makes you feel invisible, as if your feelings don't matter. When someone treats you with contempt, they are systematically undermining your self-esteem. You start doubting yourself, questioning whether it's worth sharing your thoughts or emotions. After all, if the person who should support you is rejecting you, how can you expect the world to understand you? This kind of treatment creates a deep sense of loneliness, even when you're not alone. Contempt can come in small gestures, like rolling their eyes when you say something, or in cutting remarks like, "Do you really think this matters?" Or, "Is this serious to you?" These comments may seem trivial individually, but together they build a wall between you and your confidence. If you've ever felt that your words are met with disdain or that your partner doesn't show genuine interest in what you think or feel, this is a warning. In a healthy relationship, there's room for honest and respectful exchanges, even when there are disagreements. Contempt, on the other hand, is a way of invalidating who you are and what you represent. This constant invalidation can lead you to believe that you truly don't deserve to be heard, and that's the most dangerous trap. Recognizing contempt is essential to understanding the impact it has on your emotional life. Fourth sign, excessive defensiveness. Excessive defensiveness is another clear sign that something is wrong in the relationship. When you feel that every conversation turns into a battle where you constantly need to justify yourself, this is an indication of emotional imbalance. Imagine trying to discuss something simple, like a difference of opinion or a personal need, and he immediately reacts as if he's being attacked. He might accuse you of being dramatic, overreacting, or even insecure, completely distorting the situation. This behavior creates a toxic dynamic where you begin to doubt your own intentions. You question, am I really the problem here? The truth is, someone who acts overly defensively isn't interested in resolving issues, but rather in maintaining control of the narrative. He shifts the focus from the real issue to himself, making everything revolve around him and the supposed injustices he has suffered. The impact of this is devastating. You feel suffocated, as if there's no space to express your feelings without being punished or invalidated. Over time, you may start avoiding any kind of dialogue for fear of triggering another round of accusations and conflict. This creates a constant sense of tension, as if you're walking on eggshells to avoid an explosion. If you notice that you live in a constant state of alert, always prepared for the next confrontation, this is a warning sign. Healthy relationships are built on the trust that both parties can share their perspectives without fear of retaliation. When defensiveness becomes a permanent barrier, it's time to evaluate whether this relationship truly contributes to your well-being. Fifth sign, threats. Threats are one of the most manipulative tools used in abusive relationships, and they can come disguised as love or desperation. Imagine he says something like, "If you leave me, I don't know what I'll do with my life." Or, "You're the only person who understands me. Without you, I'm lost." Phrases like these may sound dramatic, but in reality, they are emotional traps designed to keep you tied to the relationship. This type of behavior seeks to create fear and guilt. You start believing that if you leave this relationship, something terrible might happen, either to him or to you. He might even suggest that he will harm your reputation, spread lies about you, or even hurt himself. This constant feeling of insecurity makes you feel responsible for him, as if it's your duty to prevent something bad from happening. But here's the truth. Someone who truly loves doesn't use suffering as blackmail. Someone who cares about the other's well-being doesn't create situations where the other person feels suffocated or guilty for wanting to be free. These threats are a clear form of control, and they have one goal: to keep you trapped in this toxic cycle. If you've ever caught yourself thinking twice before making a decision because you feared the consequences of his reactions, this is a clear sign of emotional abuse. Healthy relationships are based on mutual respect and freedom, not fear or manipulation. When threats start shaping your choices, it's time to question whether this relationship truly contributes to your growth and happiness. Sixth sign, indifference. Indifference is one of the most silent yet devastating forms of emotional abuse. Imagine you try to talk about something important, a problem in the relationship, a personal dream, or even your day, and he simply ignores you. He turns away, changes the subject, or acts as if you don't exist. This lack of communication isn't just the absence of dialogue. It's a way of invalidating you as a person. This behavior creates a deep emotional void. You begin to question whether it's really worth sharing your thoughts or feelings, since they seem to matter to no one, especially the person who should love and support you. Over time, this feeling of abandonment and rejection intensifies, making you feel isolated, even from yourself. It's as if he's silently saying that nothing you think or feel has value. But here's the heart of the matter. Indifference is not accidental. It's used as a weapon to make you suffer in silence. Deep down, it's part of a narcissistic game where the abuser seeks to emotionally destabilize you. He knows that by ignoring your needs, he's putting you in a state of vulnerability where you begin to doubt your own worth. If you've ever felt that your words fall into a void, or that your efforts to improve the relationship are met with disinterest, this is a clear warning sign. Healthy relationships are based on reciprocity and mutual attention. When indifference becomes a constant, it's a tool of control that distances you from your essence and your own desires. This feeling of abandonment is not something you should accept as normal. Recognizing this pattern is essential to understanding the impact it has on your emotional life. Seventh sign, guilt. Guilt is a powerful tool in the hands of an emotional abuser, and it's used to convince you that you are solely responsible for everything going wrong in the relationship. Imagine that in every argument or problem, he makes you feel as if it's your duty to fix things, even when the issue didn't originate with you. He might say things like, "If you had done this right, none of this would have happened," or "You know I'm only like this because you make me act this way." This constant pattern of blaming leads you to internalize these accusations. Over time, you begin to believe that you are truly guilty for the conflicts, the bad moments, and even his behavior. This overwhelming sense of responsibility creates a vicious cycle where you work harder and harder to please, hoping to avoid new problems. But of course, it never works. When you take the blame for something you didn't cause, you're allowing him to emotionally manipulate you. He makes you believe that your suffering is deserved, that you don't deserve attention or care. This kind of distorted thinking deeply affects your self-esteem and prevents you from seeing the truth. The problem isn't you, it's him. Healthy relationships are based on partnership and mutual respect. When someone uses guilt as a form of control, they are undermining your confidence and trapping you in a cycle of self-sabotage. If you've ever felt like you carry the weight of all the relationship's problems on your shoulders, this is a clear sign of emotional abuse. Recognizing this pattern is essential to regaining your self-confidence and beginning to question the narrative he has created about you. 8th sign, gaslighting. Gaslighting is one of the most insidious forms of emotional abuse because it directly attacks your perception of reality. Imagine you're absolutely certain about something, an event, a conversation, or even your own feelings, and he makes you doubt it. He might say things like, "That never happened," "You're making this up," or "You're crazy." Over time, these constant distortions start to erode your confidence in yourself. This type of psychological manipulation is especially dangerous because it starts subtly. At first, it may seem like just a difference of opinion or an occasional misunderstanding. But gradually, he leads you to question your memory, your emotions, and even your mental sanity. You start wondering, am I really exaggerating? Am I the one who's wrong? This constant doubt creates an emotional dependence where you begin to believe you need him to interpret the world around you. The impact of this is devastating. You lose your mental and emotional autonomy, becoming a hostage to the narrative he has created about you. He convinces you that you can't handle things on your own, that without him, you'd be incapable of seeing the truth. And the worst part? You start accepting this distorted version of yourself as reality. If you've ever felt that your concerns are dismissed as exaggerated or that your memories are denied, this is a clear sign of gaslighting. Recognizing this pattern is crucial to regaining your self-confidence and understanding that you are not the problem. Healthy relationships are based on mutual validation, not the systematic invalidation of your reality. 9th sign, isolation. Isolation is one of the cruelest tools used by emotional abusers because it distances you from everything that could offer you support and clarity. Imagine that, little by little, he begins convincing you that your friends don't care about you, that your family doesn't understand your relationship, or that no one else loves you as much as he does. He might say things like, "They just want to separate us because they don't like me," or "You don't need them, I'm all you need." This subtle manipulation causes you to distance yourself from the people who truly care about you. This distancing creates a dangerous emotional dependency. You start believing that he is the only person you can trust, even though he is the root of the problem. Over time, your support networks, friends, family, and even colleagues disappear, leaving you completely isolated. And when you realize you're alone, you're already trapped in a toxic cycle that's hard to break. The impact of this goes beyond loneliness. Isolation causes you to lose touch with the person you were before the relationship. Those hobbies, interests, and dreams that once mattered to you are set aside. You become a faded version of yourself, living only to please someone who never truly valued you. If you've noticed that your friendships and family ties are weakening because of his comments or attitudes, this is a clear sign of emotional abuse. Healthy relationships encourage external connections because they understand that they are essential for the well-being of both partners. When isolation becomes a constant, it's a tool of control that prevents you from seeing the reality outside the relationship. Recognizing this pattern is crucial to understanding that you deserve to have a life rich in authentic and meaningful connections. 10th sign, instability. Emotional instability is another clear sign of emotional abuse, and it manifests in extreme highs and lows within the relationship. Imagine one day he treats you with affection, showers you with gifts or seemingly romantic gestures, and the next, he's cold, distant, or even hostile. This emotional roller coaster creates constant confusion about what's real and what isn't. You start questioning, does he really love me, Or am I imagining things? This unstable pattern is intentional and has a clear goal: to keep you trapped in the relationship. When he makes you feel loved one moment and rejected the next, you're left in a state of emotional dependency. You begin living in the hope that the good moments will return, dismissing the bad ones as if they were exceptions. But here's the truth. This alternation between affection and indifference is a manipulation tool designed to make you doubt your own perception and keep you even more trapped. Moreover, this emotional instability deeply affects your self-esteem. You start believing that you need to deserve his love, that you need to try harder to reach those moments of tenderness and attention. Over time, this creates a cycle where you feel grateful for any crumb of affection, even if it comes after days of disrespect or indifference. If you've noticed that your relationship oscillates between moments of extreme closeness and distance without an apparent reason, this is a warning sign. Healthy relationships have emotional consistency, even when there are challenges and differences. Instability is a way to keep you confused and vulnerable, preventing you from seeing the reality of the abuse. Recognizing this pattern is essential to understanding that you deserve stability and respect in your relationships. These 10 signs we've just explored may seem isolated or small when observed individually, but together they form an extremely harmful cycle. This cycle not only affects your self-esteem, but also distances you from the person you truly are. When you're trapped in a relationship with emotional abuse, you begin to doubt yourself, your feelings, and even your memories. You catch yourself asking, "Am I crazy? Do I deserve this?" But here's the truth. You're not crazy, and you don't deserve to be treated this way. The impact of this type of abuse goes beyond the emotional. It invades every area of your life: your relationships, your mental health, your productivity, your happiness. You may feel exhausted trying to fix something that was never your fault in the first place. And the cruelest part is that often, the abuser convinces you that you're the only one to blame for everything that's going wrong. This creates a constant sense of guilt and self-sabotage, where you believe you deserve all the suffering you're experiencing. If you identified with any of the signs we discussed today, know that the fault is not yours and never was. You deserve to be treated with respect, dignity, and true love, something an emotional abuser can never offer. Recognizing the problem is the first step toward changing your reality. And I truly hope this video has been a starting point for you to see things more clearly. Remember, you're not alone on this journey. There are people who care about you and want to support you, whether in your family, among your friends, or even in specialized communities. Don't hesitate to seek professional help, such as therapists or psychologists, who can guide you through this process of emotional rebuilding. Leaving an abusive relationship isn't easy, but it's possible, and you have the strength to do it. If this video helped you in any way, I invite you to leave a comment below. Share your story, your reflections, or even words of encouragement for others who are going through the same thing. Together, we can create a support network for those who need a helping hand. And if you know someone who might be experiencing this situation, share this video. It might be exactly what that person needs to start seeing the truth. Thank you so much for watching until the end. If you enjoyed the content, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell to receive more videos like this. Every like, comment, and share makes all the difference in helping this message reach more people. I believe in you, and I know you have everything it takes to overcome this. Click on the screen and watch the next video. I'll see you there. And remember, you are light. Never forget to shine.